Hi everyone, this is Passport Junkie. I'm going to be sharing my review on Thailand in this video. I admittedly have been super trife in getting this review out. I went to Thailand actually for my 30th birthday back in January, and it is now December. And every time I post something about Thailand or Southeast Asia, you guys will ask me questions or comment. And so I was like, this is really overdue. I really should just put up my review, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you guys, knowing that a lot of you all are planning trips to Thailand. So my trip was basically, we decided to do Bangkok and Phuket. One caveat I would say is if I had to do it all over again, I would maybe try to add 1 or 2 more days onto my trip and do Chiang Mai, which, you know, is supposed to be a really cool place to see. There are a few things that I would say, you know, you should consider if you're thinking about going. Number one is, how much time do you have? It's definitely a trip where you need at least 7 days. The amount of travel to and from there, it's about 24 hours of travel. So, you know, I'm of the mindset that, you know, if I'm gonna spend all that time to go out there and travel, you know, in travel time, then I definitely want to make sure I have enough days in between to experience everything I'd like to once I get there. One other good thing about Thailand is that even though the flight to get there may be expensive, that's if you don't find a flight deal. Once you get to Thailand, you can really decide, you know, how much you want to spend. You can have a very reasonably priced, you know, budget, spending very little per day, especially with food and whatnot, because that is very cheap. Hotels are very nice, and there are some very reasonable options. Or you can, you know, ramp it up and have a little bit more of a luxurious trip. But that's one thing about Thailand, is that, like, getting there, you may spend a lot, but once you're there, you can definitely, you know, temper how much you spend. So, as you already know, my ratings are out of 5 stars, and I look at 4 different things to make up my overall rating. They are food, nightlife, culture, and activities. And I feel like these are the 4 things that, you know, when you're planning a trip or thinking about a trip, that you kind of want to have a sense of, and they kind of sort of shape the trip and give you what to expect. So I rate each of those individually, and I average them all together to come up with the overall rating for the country. Overall rating for Thailand is a 4. And that's 4 out of 5 stars, which is a really good rating. So I'm going to touch on food first. So food got a 4 out of 5 stars. The food in Thailand was really good, really fresh. If you like Thai food in general, you know, that flavor palette, then you'll love the food in Thailand. It's like similar to what you would find here, except a bit more fresh, obviously. There is also, like, if you want to be adventurous, you know, you can try like street foods or whatever, street carts. That's a really big cultural kind of norm or aspect, is like food markets and street markets, where you can, you know, have a little bit more of an authentic experience and try some of the local food. That was not what I decided I wanted to do. But yeah, I was a little adventurous on the floating market. To me, that was like adventure enough for me in terms of the food, and we all turned out to be fine. For the next part of my rating, I'm going to talk about culture. So culturally, you will feel like you are very much in a different place. I loved the culture in Thailand. They were very welcoming to people who clearly were not Thai. And I think that really is what sort of endeared me to Southeast Asia in general. I had been to Southeast Asia before, in Malaysia and Indonesia, and had a similar experience where I just felt very welcome. Whereas in some other Asian countries, or countries in general, when you look different than the people there, they're not necessarily as welcoming. So loved Thai culture, very unique. We did some cultural activities in terms of going to the Royal Palace. For the next part of the rating, I'm going to talk about nightlife. Nightlife got a 3 out of 5, and well, it's not so was a little interesting. So there's a range of things to do at night based on what your interests are. So we had heard a lot about the shows where they do tricks. They call them the ping pong shows. We wanted to check that out. Some people find that repulsive, which I totally understand. We just were curious little cats and we wanted to check it out. It is as strange and as gross and weird as you think it is. So if you want to check that out, I'd recommend doing that in Bangkok versus Phuket, because it's a little bit more of a gimmicky and more expensive in some of those more touristy areas, whereas Bangkok, while touristy, is still like an everyday city. Other options for nightlife include regular clubs, which we checked those out as well. And, you know, the music for the most part was house music, techno music, not even like pop or typical, you know, songs that you would hear. So don't go expecting, you know, pop songs or something like that, and you're definitely not going to hear any hip hop if that's what you like, which is what me and my friends like. So you definitely have to have an open mind in terms of the nightlife. Lady boys are very common in Thailand. So if you know, I guess don't be surprised. Some of them look, you know, really good. They have their own crew and clique that follows them. There was this one bar that we went to. I mean, people were like laying out the red carpet for this particular lady boy. I guess she was very popular or something like that. So, and then she later like got into a fight, like a whole cat fight. I remember just like watching it. It was like in slow motion, but they threw glasses and everything and they got down. So, you know, it was a really interesting experience. I would highly recommend going out if you, you know, if you're into that. It's definitely worth seeing. When you get to Phuket, there is a strip in Patong, on Patong Beach, where it's just a bunch of clubs and bars, and you can just hop from place to place. They'll try to sell you on tickets and packages to get in. You can do that or not, and you'll be fine either way. We just wanted to get a little sprinkling of everything, so that's what we decided to do once we got to Phuket. So activities in Thailand got a 5. Some of the big activities are, like I said, the elephants, the tigers. You can also take a cooking class. What else did we do? The floating market. So, you know, there's lots of activities to do. When you get there, you will not be bored. Feel free to ask me any other questions in the comments, or continue to ask me questions on IG. Happy to be helpful in whatever way I can. If you want to see more of what we did in Thailand, then watch my second video, Thailand Short Review.